The Indianapolis Colts just made a flurry of roster moves, some expected and some I found surprising. All this and more on today's Sports Talk Indy. What's going on? I'm Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. If you're new to the channel, it'd mean a ton if you like and subscribe and follow, hit the notification bell, the whole shebang, and become a part of this community. But today we're talking about some roster moves that the Colts made, and actually it's the first really big day that the Colts have made more than one or two roster moves in a single day. So this is 4 roster moves, and we'll talk about the one that's least surprising first, and that is that they placed Daniel Scott on the injured reserve, and that means that he is done for the season. We knew that a couple days ago, tore his Achilles after tearing his ACL, and he's going to be done. But they also waived someone who I think is interesting and proves to me, at least, that the Colts are going to be in a good place with some of their draft picks. Today they released a center, Jack Anderson. Sorry, I couldn't find his name. He is 6'4", 314, played 15 career games, 3 starts in his time with the Colts in 2023, New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles, Buffalo Bills, and yeah, he only played in like one game with the Colts. And the reason I think this is interesting is because this was our backup center, right? Ryan Kelly gets hurt. Who are we going to put in? We're going to put in Jack Anderson. But this shows a lot of faith in the draft picks that we picked, specifically in the offensive line division, in my opinion at least. So right now, our offensive line starting 5 is Raymond, Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, and Braden Smith. That's a pretty good. I think when PFF ranked that offensive line, it was top 5, maybe even top 3 in the NFL. Really good offensive line. But I think that an important thing for the Colts is to get depth in the offensive line, because a couple years ago we were left without depth, and it was a nightmare. Even in the Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, both those years, want to forget them. But an important note is that we didn't have good depth in our offensive line. But the reason I think this is important is because right now, behind Ryan Kelly, the new backup center would be Wesley French, who has played some time at guard and center. He's kind of bounced around a little bit. Specifically, it's hilarious when he lines up next to Will Fries, because we get French fries. But I think that the important thing to note is that Tanner Bortolini, who the Colts drafted this year, played a significant amount of time playing in both guard and center. This year is Ryan Kelly's last year, unless I'm mistaken, which I might be, but I think, if I remember correctly, this is Ryan Kelly's last year on contract. And while I think that the Colts would like to continue extending him, especially with the performance that he's had and what he means to the community of Indianapolis, you also kind of got to prepare that either he could walk away or that he could potentially retire. I mean, offensive linemen, they either last until they're 40 years old or they retire kind of early just because of the physical toll that it takes on your body. So I think that's important, because Tanner Bortolini could potentially be the next up-and-coming, or the next guy that the Colts are going to use as the center going forward, and especially if Ryan Kelly misses any time. Regardless, it's important that the Colts get depth in this position. We have Matt Gonzalez and Tanner Bortolini, who are coming in, Wesley French, Blake Freeland, and Josh Sills. I think all of those guys are going to be really good. I wouldn't be surprised if Pinter gets the boot when the roster cuts go down to 53 man. So that's the first one. The next one, and I think these are both interesting, we have signed Clay Fields and wide receiver Derek Slyka. It's spelled Slywka. You can bully me in the comments about how I'm pronouncing that. But the reason I think this is interesting, we talked about Clay Fields a lot in the last video about what he could mean, especially with now Daniel Scott going onto the IR, all of that. So we talked about that. But I think that an important note is that Clay Fields, who played a majority of his time playing safety for Chattanooga, is actually going to be signed as a cornerback. Which means that likely what they're going to try and do in this position is that they are going to move him into that nickel corner. And we talked about this specifically because the comp that I had made for him was a lot like Kenny Moore, specifically in the build. And it goes even further when you look at his height and weight. He's 5'10", 188 pounds. Very, very close to very, very close to Kenny Moore. He's a little bit lighter than Kenny Moore, but he had his tryout in rookie minicamp. After getting the tryout, so he got the rookie minicamp, then he got invited to veterans minicamp, and then immediately, as soon as veterans minicamp is over, he gets the go-ahead, and they sign him to a contract. And so, yeah, he played 11 games, 5 starts at Chattanooga, compiled 49 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 10 passes deflection, defense, and 1 interception. And then, yeah, he played 32 games at Marist and all that. I think this is an interesting pick, especially because the Colts are in need of some depth in that position. Obviously, they went hard there in the draft towards the end. Rounds, 5, 6, 7, all went to defense. But I think this could be, you never know with undrafted free agents. You never know. They could either be really, really good, or they could be liabilities, or they just don't make it. And I think that this could be one that I'm excited to see what the possibility is, especially because he's so green. I mean, he didn't even have a lot of college tape. And so this is one that could be nothing, or it could be something really, really cool. And like we talked about last time, Kenny Moore was undrafted. Zaire Franklin was in the 7th round. Like, a lot of our defensive players have come from those later rounds and have been able to be really, really good. And so this could be another one. That could be, I mean, what a story that would be as a guy from Chattanooga or Marist College coming in and having just being a really, really dominant force. So I'm excited to see that one. This next one's even more intriguing, and that's Derek Sliwaka. 6'2", 215, came to the veterans minicamp on a tryout basis. He played 34 career games, 26 starts. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because when they signed him, they have to assign a position to him, and they signed him as a wide receiver. Derek Sliwaka played almost his entire college career as a defensive back, specifically as a safety. And so I think it's very interesting that the Colts are signing him as a wide receiver. And again, it could be nothing, but specifically because the Colts need so much depth into this specific area, I think that it's really, really interesting. Last year, he had, in 12 games, he had 6 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 2 blocked kicks, and he became the 5th player in program history to be named All-American by 3 major organizations. This guy could be something interesting. He actually matches up stat for stat with Daniel Scott as far as like height and weight go. So I think that this could be really interesting. Jack Anderson being released, I'm not heartbroken about, because I think that it shows that what they have seen in their new offensive lineman that they've drafted, they like a lot, and they are looking at this as the future. It's not shocking, but I think it's important that you want to see this. You want to see, when you draft a player like this, you want to see the guys like this, you don't want to see them released, but you also are okay with it because it means that they have confidence in who they've drafted. And like I said, I'm really interested on this Clay Fields and Derek Sliwaka on if they're going to be guys that are they could potentially pave a way. And why did they sign Sliwaka as a wide receiver when he played his entire career as a safety? These are all mysteries that I'm excited to get into as we continue into the Colts offseason and go from there. So we'll see. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.